Hello everybody and welcome to another fly tying session with your host Scott. In this session we're going to be tying a fly known as the Wimbledon woolly bugger. At least that's what it's known to me as. Now there's a good reason why. The woolly bugger is a very famous lure pattern used to catch fish of all species in the United Kingdom, most notably brown trout and rainbow trout. However, there's that many different variations of it. I thought I'd come up with my own, and I also like to demonstrate that you can use other materials that are not necessarily available in a fishing tackle shop, for example. So, what do I mean by that? And why have I called it the Wimbledon woolly bugger, you may ask? So, for a kick-off, the body material, we're going to be using a tennis ball. It's a lovely shade of chartreuse. It's the shade everybody likes to use when they're tying flies most of the time. So I thought, well, hang on, can I use this as a material? And I quickly realised that you can actually just sort of pull away at it and use it as a dubbing. That's why we're calling it the Wimbledon woolly bugger. The body is going to be made from the fluff of a tennis ball. In the vise, we've got a B405, excuse me, we've got a Camazan B813 size 10. Sorry, I've got those on my desk at the moment for the next video, but that's my fault. That's what we're going to be using for this pattern. It's a long shank size 10. It's not a really long shank like the B800, but it's the perfect size for this fly. It's a nice proportion. And for weight, we're going to be using a 3.2mm chartreuse bead. The original pattern, according to my book, does actually use a lead wire underbody. So if you prefer to do it that way, you can leave the bead out and just wind some turns of wire onto the shank of the hook if you prefer. For the thread, we're going to need, it's running a bit low. I've got another one though, so it's not a problem, but this is a chartreuse thread by Uni NATO. For the tail, we're going to be using some black marabou. Now this is white marabou that I've dyed myself. Now the reason I have dyed it myself is because I am fed up of buying black marabou that is either a very dark purple or a very dark blue or a combination of the two. If you see it in daylight, I'm using daylight bulbs in this room right now so that I can film. I've also got a 5000 Kelvin LED overlighting the vise. And you can tell that is black, right? If you was to buy marabou and put it under that light, it would appear dark purple or even blue. It's no good to anybody. So this is why I dye it myself. Rant over. Hopefully the people that are making these fly tying materials will watch and take heed. We're also going to be using a tinsel, which unfortunately has hit the floor. A Madeira tinsel, holographic. I like this tinsel, quite a fan of it. I use it for a lot of fly tying, buzzers. It's really good. And it's not actually for fly tying, you buy it from a sewing shop. So that's two materials that I haven't bought from a fishing tackle shop that I'm using in this fly. And then finally, for the palmed hackle, there is a large bushy palmed hackle on the woolly bugger. I'm using a black cape. It's an Indian cock cape that's been dyed black. I haven't dyed this one myself. This one is actually quite nice for the very little money I paid for it. It's a Stillwater one. So let's get started. Now I've finished ranting. Spent 5 minutes ranting. So we're going to bed the hook. Fairly simple job. With this particular pattern, we're going to go not to the bend, which I do quite regularly with some of the flies. We're going to be stopping so that the thread dangles in line with the point. And then we're going to tie in our tail. We've got a couple of thumbs widths of marabou. The tail will end up quite short on this pattern because I'm fishing for, with this particular pattern, quite small brown trout in that lake that I've been fishing a lot recently with traditional wet flies. I've been enjoying it quite a lot. It's a very wild lake. It is an artificial lake, but it's been there a very long time now. And there's only wild brown trout in it. So we're going to offer that up to the hook. We're going to drop in a loose turn and pull tight. I'm going to do that a couple of times just to lock it into place where we want it. And that should probably do it. We're going to make sure it's all on top of the hook. And then we're going to trim away the excess. Might be able to get rid of some of the fluff here just to get rid of the bulk. Should have done that first really, but you can do it once it's in as well. There you go. And then we're going to get some tinsel. I've got some already cut here from the previous take. Yes, this is the second take, I will be honest. Full disclosure. Then we're going to tie that in, and then we're going to tidy up. So I'm always on the lookout for alternative fly tie materials. That the main reason for it being is that there's just simply no fishing tackle shops on the high streets anymore, which is a real shame. They have disappeared in the last 10-15 years, and especially since the pandemic, they've just completely gone. And so I'm always on the lookout for something that I can tie my next pattern with. And as it's the Wimbledon tournament, I thought it'd be a good idea to do this pattern. I'm just going to tidy up these straggly bits here on the body, because they do end up showing through, I'm afraid. There we go. I mean, for example, where I live, the nearest fishing tackle shop is probably in Shrewsbury, and then the next nearest is Aberystwyth. It's not great. It's not a great situation to be in when you're a keen fly fisherman. I'm having to buy materials online. The colours differ. It's just one of those things. So at this point we're going to add our favourite ingredient. We're just going to get a few bunches of this tennis ball chartreuse fluff. Now, it's the perfect shade of chartreuse that everybody goes mad for, so if you're struggling to find it, there's plenty of sports shops still around. And buy yourself a tennis ball. This one was from a pet store. So, in fact, it was from my sister's pet store. So we're going to dub that on. And put the first turn on and then really tighten it up. And it is quite coarse, to be honest. You could probably pinch it all off the tennis ball if you've got enough time to do that, and put it in a coffee grinder like I've demonstrated in a previous video. where I've made my own dubbing using wools. You want a fairly even body. There we are, that should do it. If there's any straggly bits, you can pull them off if you want to. It's not looking too bad your side. So at this point we're going to tie in our hackle. It's going to be a hackle feather. It's about halfway down the body of the cape. It's not going to be a massive one. I'm going to strip off the fluff at the stalk and then tie it in at the stalk there. Nice and tight, because it's because of the bead, it doesn't always lock in as well as it would if it was on a straight shank. And you want to bend it back slightly as well and go over the top of it again, and then do that, and hopefully it won't go anywhere. Then you're going to get your hackle pliers. You want to put 2 turns in at the head. Like so. And then we're going to palm. And you're going to get your tinsel and put your first turn of tinsel in. Once your first turn's in, you can let go with your hackle pliers and then continue to rib. But just rib as if there's nothing there at all. Try and keep the turns even. And then tie it in at the bead. Don't worry about catching any fibres from the hackle, you can sort that out in just a second. Carefully trim away the rib. Find the end of the feather that you've just wound and trim away. Like so. Brush all the fibres back and start to form your head. Then get your tail to the desired length, put it between finger and thumb and pinch. And there you go. That's got your it's a bit long, to be honest with you. I'd probably have it a bit shorter than that in the field, but it's always best to have it a bit long. Try it. If you find you're just getting pecks at it, then you can obviously shorten it. Hang on. There's a hackle fibre got stuck in there. Okay, that should be okay now. and we finish it. And trim away. Now I've done that very, very quickly. It's not meant to be a perfect example of a fly, to be honest with you, because it's a lure pattern. There's no such thing as a perfect lure pattern, really. These are ideal patterns for beginners to tie, in all fairness, because they will still catch fish, even if they're slightly flawed in their appearance. So you want to varnish where you've finished the head. And don't worry about getting some varnish on the bead as well. It might look a bit garish at the moment, but it does actually dry flat. And there we have it. That is the Wimbledon woolly bugger. Now I'm sure there's plenty of woolly buggers out there with a chartreuse body. I've just called it the Wimbledon woolly bugger because I've used a tennis ball for the body. There we are. Thank you all very much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next serve. Bye bye for now.